Have you ever laid there in bed at night, just wondering, hoping, praying that maybe, just maybe, that narcissistic ex of yours is finally feeling guilty? That maybe somehow they're tossing and turning just like you, replaying every lie, every betrayal, every manipulation. Stop right there. Let me save you some time. They're not. But, and this is a big but, what if I told you there's something else going on? Something way more dangerous. Something that looks like guilt from the outside, but when you get up close, it's 1,000 times more corrosive. I'm talking about shame, not guilt. Shame. Now we got to make sure we're using the right words here, because this ain't some feel bad for hurting you kind of conversation. Guilt and shame. Not the same thing. Not even close. See, guilt is something healthy people feel. Guilt says, I did something wrong. It's about behavior. You mess up, you own it. Guilt moves you toward empathy, toward accountability. Guilt says, I need to make this right. But here's the thing, narcissists. They don't feel guilt the way you do. Their brains aren't wired that way. They can mimic it, sure. They know the script, but feeling it, actually feeling it, not going to happen. What they do feel, when they feel anything at all, is shame, and shame, that's a whole other beast. Shame doesn't say, I made a mistake. Shame whispers, I am a mistake. It's that voice in the back of their mind that says, you're not enough. You'll never be enough. It's toxic, it's chronic, and it is absolutely relentless. Now I know some of you listening, you've seen it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a moment, maybe just for a split second, when the mask slipped, when they got caught in a lie, or when you didn't react the way they planned. You saw the panic in their eyes. That wasn't guilt. That was shame knocking on the door. And let me tell you something, narcissists will do anything to keep that door shut. They'll lie, rage, gaslight, charm, Hoover, whatever it takes to keep shame from getting in. Because if shame gets in, the whole illusion crumbles. Let me paint you a picture here. Their big, grand personality, that wasn't real. That was armor. That was a costume. That was a human highlight reel. Because the truth underneath it, that truth is too painful to face. It's been buried for years, maybe decades. Somewhere deep down, there's a little kid who was told they weren't good enough. Or maybe they were told they were so special, so godlike, they couldn't possibly live up to it. Either way, they learned the same thing, who I really am isn't acceptable. So they killed off that true self and built a new one that was flawless, one that was admired, one that could never be touched. But that armor, it's heavy and it's brittle. And every time reality doesn't match their fantasy, a little crack forms. That's what you saw. That's what you felt. That chill that ran through you when they suddenly exploded over something small. That was shame trying to squeeze through the cracks. And that shame is what's eating them alive, not guilt, not regret. Shame. So listen, here's what I want you to do. Go down into the comments. Tell me, what was the moment when you saw the mask fall off? Was it when you laughed at their ridiculous story and they froze like you just pulled the curtain back on The Wizard of Oz? Was it when you calmly said, that's not true, and they spiraled into rage? I want to hear about it, because those moments are the truth. That's when you see it for what it is. Not strength, not confidence, not guilt, but raw, exposed shame. Now let me say this real clear so there's no confusion. You are not dealing with someone who feels bad for what they did to you. You are dealing with someone who feels bad about who they are, and they are doing everything in their power to avoid looking in the mirror. You are not the judge. You are the mirror. And the moment you stopped reflecting what they wanted to see, that's when the game changed. So don't wait for guilt. Don't wait for closure. Don't wait for that call or that text or that apology. It's not coming, because it was never about you. And hey, if that feels harsh, I get it. But I'm not here to sugarcoat this. I'm here to help you see it clearly. So take a breath. You're doing better than you think. Let's keep talking. I want you to picture this with me. They walk into a room like they own the damn place. Big smile, loud voice. Got that handshake like they're running for mayor. And they might as well be the way they're working the crowd. They've got the high-powered job, the curated social media feed, the stories where they're always the savior, the genius, the misunderstood hero. You looked at all that and thought, wow, now that is someone with confidence, strength, leadership. Well, let me stop you right there. That ain't strength. That ain't confidence. That is compensation. It's a full-time acting gig, my friend. What you're looking at is a human being who has sentenced themselves to a life of performance. And it's not just a tough job, it's a prison. A damn exhausting one. Let me peel back the curtain on this for you. You see, narcissists don't build lives, they build sets. Every part of it is staged: the way they dress, the people they associate with, the jobs they chase, the stories they tell. It's all part of a persona, what we call the false self. And this false self, it's not a real person. It's a made-up character designed to do one thing and one thing only: get applause. And I don't mean a slow golf clap. I mean standing ovation level admiration. We call that applause, narcissistic supply. And just like an addict, they need it every day, every hour, sometimes every minute. Because without it, they start to crack. Let me give you a metaphor here that'll stick. It's like they're an actor in a one-man play, and they never, ever get to leave the stage. They wake up in character. They go to sleep in character. And if they drop that mask for even 1 second, the audience, you might see what's really underneath. And trust me, they are terrified of that. You think that need for admiration is about ego. No, sir. It's about survival. Their false self needs attention the way your lungs need oxygen. And the arrogance, that's not pride, that's armor. Armor built to defend a truth they can't admit, not even to themselves. And here's the brutal truth most people don't want to hear. Deep down, they don't think they're special. Deep down, they think they're nothing. Let me say that again. Deep down, they think they are nothing. That whole, I'm better than you, I deserve the best, I only roll with winners, that's not real self-esteem. That's a cover-up. That's a defense against a buried belief that says, I'm broken, I'm unworthy. If you knew who I really was, you'd leave me in a heartbeat. That's the root of narcissism. Somewhere along the line, their real self, the vulnerable, needy, imperfect child, was told, either by abuse or by overinflation, who you are isn't good enough. So what do? They killed off that version of themselves, buried it deep, and they replaced it with a shiny, flawless, bulletproof persona. But let's not romanticize it. That false identity they created, it's not freedom. It's not happiness. It's not strength. It is a life sentence. Because once you start pretending, you can't stop. Not ever. Every room they walk into is a stage. Every conversation is a performance. Every relationship is a transaction. What can I get from you to prove I'm still valuable? What do I need to say or do to make sure you clap instead of leave? And the price of maintaining that lie, it's steep. They can't admit when they're wrong. They can't show weakness. They can't tell the truth if it would make them look less than perfect. They can't really love because love requires vulnerability. And they can't be vulnerable because vulnerability risks exposure. And here's where it gets real dark. The more applause they get, the more imprisoned they become. Because now the stakes are even higher. Now they have to keep it going. And the fear of being found out, it eats them alive. It's not empathy they lack because they don't care. It's because they can't afford to care. If they start empathizing with your pain, they might have to feel their own. And that is something they've been avoiding since they were old enough to realize pain could destroy them. Let's talk about that buried true self for a minute. That real version of them. That's the child who was humiliated or maybe idealized beyond reason. Either way, they were taught that authenticity equals rejection. So they buried that self deep, and they created a monster in its place, a charming, driven, magnetic monster, but a monster nonetheless. And the worst part, they've forgotten that it's fake. Over time, they start believing their own PR, but it doesn't make them feel better. It just makes them more desperate. Because somewhere in the back of their mind, shame is still whispering, you're a fraud. You're a fake. They're going to find out, so they keep climbing, Keep achieving, keep seducing, keep manipulating. But nothing works. It's like trying to fill a black hole with glitter. You think being them is glamorous. It's hell. Every compliment is fleeting. Every success is hollow. Every day is a fight against the truth. So here's my question for you. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, man, they have everything, so why do they seem so damn miserable? Well, now you know. That constant grinding fear of being found out. That's the breeding ground for the shame we're talking about. The thing that slowly, quietly, insidiously eats them alive. So if you've ever envied that narcissist for their looks, their money, their charm, their success, don't. Behind that perfect exterior is someone who is absolutely terrified of being alone with themselves. They built a fortress to keep their shame out, and now they're trapped inside it screaming, that is not power. That is not confidence. That is captivity. So here's what I want you to do. Think about the person in your life who fits this mold, the one who always has to be the best, the brightest, the center of attention. Now ask yourself, do they ever seem truly happy? I mean, really happy?
Fulfilled, at peace?
Or do they just look exhausted, angry, paranoid? That's not coincidence. That's the price of the lie. You're not missing out. You got out. And believe me, that means you're free. Picture this. You're sitting across from them, maybe at a dinner table, maybe in a meeting, and you say something so simple, so innocent, like, hey, that story doesn't add up, or you forgot to do that thing you promised. And then, boom, it's like you just lit a match in a room full of dynamite. Their face changes, their eyes narrow, and the next thing you know, they're unloading on you with a rage so intense, so disproportionate. You're left standing there, jaw on the floor, wondering what the hell just happened. You didn't just step on their toe, my friend. You stepped on their soul. You caused what we call a narcissistic injury. And trust me, that's a wound that cuts deeper than you can imagine. Let's break this down. A narcissistic injury isn't just a bruise to their ego. It's a puncture wound to the very core of their false self. That shiny, perfect persona they've spent their entire lives constructing. It's any moment, any comment, any situation that dares to poke a hole in their grandiose fantasy of being flawless, untouchable, all-powerful. It's not about you hurting their feelings. It's about you threatening the illusion they've built to survive. And when that illusion cracks, even just a little, it's like the whole world starts to crumble for them. So what sets it off? What's the spark that lights this fire? It could be anything that challenges their narrative. Public criticism is a big one. Imagine they're holding court in a meeting, spinning some tale about their brilliance, and someone, maybe you, points out a mistake. To you, it's just feedback. To them, it's a public execution. Their whole identity is built on being the smartest, the best, the one who never screws up. So when you call them out, even gently, it's not just a correction, it's a guillotine to their ego. Or how about being ignored? You're at a party laughing with someone else, having a good time, and you don't notice them trying to steal the spotlight. To you, it's just a moment of connection with someone new. To them, it's betrayal. It's proof they're not the center of the universe. And that feeling of being invisible, it's like pouring acid on their sense of self. They'll do anything to claw their way back into the spotlight, interrupt, tell a louder story, or even pick a fight, just to make sure all eyes are back on them. Then there's someone else's success. You get a promotion at work, or your friend lands a big deal, or your cousin posts about their new house on social media. To a healthy person, that's cause for celebration. To a narcissist, it's a direct attack. Your win is their loss. Your light dims theirs. They don't just feel envious, they feel erased. Because in their mind, there's only room for one star in the show, and it's supposed to be them. And let's not forget the ultimate injury, being left. You walk away, you go no contact, you choose yourself over them. That's not just a rejection, it's annihilation. Because you leaving proves they're not essential, not perfect, not irreplaceable. It confirms their deepest, darkest fear that they're discardable, that they're nothing. And that kind of wound, it's unbearable. Now let's talk about what happens when that injury hits. You've seen it, the explosion, the yelling, the insults, the cold, calculated cruelty. Maybe they call you names, tear you down, or twist the situation to make you feel like the bad guy. You're left reeling, thinking, all I did was ask a question. Why are they acting like I burned their house down? Here's the truth: that rage isn't anger, it's panic. Pure, raw, existential panic. It's the terror of their true self, that broken, unworthy, shameful self they buried for years, starting to claw its way to the surface. They're not mad at you. They're terrified of what you've exposed. That rage is a smokescreen. It's a distraction. It's their desperate attempt to regain control, to silence that screaming voice of shame in their head. They have to destroy the source of the injury. You, because you're the one who held up the mirror. You're the one who showed them a crack in their perfect facade, and they can't handle it, so they lash out, gaslight, manipulate, or charm their way out of it. Anything to patch up the hole you just punched in their armor. Think about it like this: their false self is a house of cards, and you just pulled one out. The whole thing could come crashing down, so they scramble to rebuild it. They might scream at you to make you back down. They might turn on the charm to pull you back in. They might rewrite the story so they're the victim and you're the villain. Whatever it takes to keep that house standing. Because if it falls, they have to face the truth they've been running from their whole life, that they're not who they've pretended to be. And here's the part you need to really get. You are not the judge in this scenario. You are the mirror. As long as you were reflecting back their perfection, their brilliance, their superiority, everything was fine. You were their favorite person. But the second you showed them a flaw, a crack, a blemish, a moment of weakness, they had to shatter you. Not because you did something wrong, but because you showed them something true, something they can't bear to see. So let's talk about what this means for you. If you've ever been on the receiving end of that rage, that coldness, that sudden flip from adoration to contempt, you know how disorienting it is. You start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was I too harsh? Am I the problem? Stop right there. You didn't cause their pain. You didn't create their shame. You just reflected it back to them. And that's not your fault. It's their burden. Here's what I want you to do. Think about that moment when their mask slipped. That time they overreacted and you saw the real them, not the charming, confident persona, but the scared, fragile person underneath. Maybe it was when you called them out on a lie and they spiraled into defensiveness. Maybe it was when you succeeded at something and their jealousy turned them into someone you didn't recognize. Whatever it was, hold on to that moment, because that's the truth. That's the narcissist unmasked. And here's the good news: you don't have to carry their pain. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to keep reflecting their lies back to them. Your job is to protect your peace, to walk away from their chaos, and to stop letting their injuries become your wounds. Because the truth is, their shame was never about you. It was always about them. So take a deep breath. You're stronger than you know. And every step you take away from their drama is a step toward your freedom. Keep going. Let's paint a picture. You're sitting there minding your own business, maybe trying to have a normal conversation, and out of nowhere, they hit you with it. You're so lazy. You never do anything right. You're the reason everything's falling apart. And you're just standing there stunned, thinking, where did that come from? What did I even do? It's like they just handed you a red hot potato, burning your hands, and then yelled at you for holding it. That, my friend, is what a narcissist does with their shame. They can't bear to carry it themselves, so they toss it to you and make you feel like it's yours. Welcome to the great export, their slick, sneaky way of making you carry the weight of their deepest insecurities. Here's how it works. Shame for a narcissist is like a poison they can't tolerate. It's that gnawing, unbearable feeling that they're not good enough, not worthy. It's not the flawless superstar they've built themselves up to be. But admitting that, facing it, that's not an option. because to face their shame would mean dismantling the whole false self they've spent a lifetime constructing. So instead of dealing with it, they do something diabolical. They project it onto you. Every single thing they can't stand about themselves, their insecurity, their lies, their cruelty, they pin it on you like a tailor stitching a suit. And before you know it, you're walking around wearing their shame, feeling like you're the one who's broken. Let's break down the script, because trust me, they've got one. They feel like a failure deep down. They'll turn it around and call you lazy, unambitious, and nobody. They're lying through their teeth. Suddenly, you're the one who's secretive, dishonest, untrustworthy. They're spiraling out of control, emotions all over the place. Guess what? They'll call you crazy, unstable, a hot mess. It's like they've got a mirror in their head. But instead of looking at their own reflection, they hold it up to you and say, this is your fault. It's psychological warfare, plain and simple. By making you the bad guy, they get to play the hero. By dumping their shame on you, they get to walk away feeling clean. It's a con, and you're the mark. And here's the worst part, it works. You start believing it. You start questioning yourself. Maybe I am lazy. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I'm not good enough. That's their shame talking, not the truth. But they're so good at this game, so relentless, that you end up carrying a weight you didn't even know was theirs. You're walking around with their insecurities, their self-hatred, their fear of being nothing, and you don't even realize it's not yours to carry. Now, let's talk about the role they assign you, the scapegoat. Every narcissist needs one. In their family, their workplace, their relationship with you, there's always got to be someone to blame. Someone who's the designated failure, the problem child, the screw up, because as long as they can point the finger at you, they don't have to look at themselves. You're not just a person to them, you're a dumping ground. You're the one who absorbs all the flaws they can't admit they have. In their family, it might be the kid who's too sensitive or too rebellious. At work, it's the coworker who's incompetent or always causing drama. In your relationship, it's you, always you, because you're the closest target. As long as you're wearing the label of the problem, they get to keep pretending they're perfect. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how they're never wrong? How every fight, every mistake, every disaster somehow ends up being your fault? That's not an accident. That's strategy. They're not just deflecting blame, they're exporting their shame. And the more you try to reason with them, the more you try to explain or defend yourself, the deeper you get sucked into their game. Because the truth is, they don't want resolution. They want you to carry the load so they don't have to. But here's where it gets real. You don't have to keep carrying it. That anxiety you're feeling, that self-doubt, that nagging sense that you're never good enough, that's not yours. That's their shame, and it's time to give it back. Not by fighting, not by arguing, not by trying to prove you're right. You give it back by refusing to play the game, by stepping away from the role of scapegoat, by looking at that red, hot potato they threw at you and saying, "This isn't mine." You don't have to yell it. You don't have to scream it. You just have to know it deep in your bones and start acting like it. Let me tell you something else. This isn't just about you feeling better. It's about breaking free. The moment you stop carrying their shame, you start reclaiming your power. You start seeing yourself for who you really are, not the failure, not the problem, not the crazy one, but someone who's been strong enough to survive their chaos. Someone who's been carrying a weight that was never meant to be theirs. And when you put that weight down, you'll be amazed at how light you feel. So here's what I want you to do. Think about a time they made you feel small, unworthy, or wrong. Maybe it was a comment that cut deep, or a fight where they turned everything around on you. Now ask yourself, what were they really saying about themselves? What shame were they trying to offload? Maybe they called you selfish because they can't stand their own greed. Maybe they called you weak because they're terrified of their own vulnerability. See it for what it is. Name it. and then let it go. You're not their dumping ground. You're not their scapegoat. You're not the container for their pain. You're a person with your own worth, your own strength, your own story. And that story doesn't have to include their baggage. So take a deep breath and start handing that shame back where it belongs. You don't have to carry it for them anymore. You never did. You've finally done it. You've walked away. You've cut the cord, gone no contact, and started to breathe a little easier. The weight of their chaos isn't crushing you anymore. You're starting to feel like yourself again. And then it happens. Your phone lights up. It's a text. I'm sorry. It says, or maybe it's an email dripping with words like, I know I messed up, or I can't stop thinking about you. For a split second, your heart jumps. You think they get it. They're sorry. They're finally feeling guilty. You start imagining that apology. You've been waiting for the one that's going to make it all make sense. Stop right there. That's not an apology. That's a hook. And they're not trying to save you. They're trying to save themselves. Welcome to the Hoover, my friend. And it's got nothing to do with guilt. Let's break this down because this move is straight out of the Narcissist playbook. The Hoover, named after the vacuum cleaner that sucks everything up, is their attempt to pull you back into their orbit. You thought you were free, but they're not done with you yet. Why? Because when you walked away, you took something critical with you, their narcissistic supply. That's the attention, the admiration, the validation they need to keep their false self propped up. Without you, the silence is deafening. The cracks in their armor start to widen. That shame they've been dodging their whole life. It starts creeping in, whispering that they're worthless, that they're nothing, and they can't handle it. So they reach for the one thing they know will quiet the noise you. This isn't about love. It's not about remorse. It's about survival. Let's talk about what's really driving that Hoover. First, they need a fix. You were their drug, their go-to source for soothing the anxiety of their shame. When you were around, your attention, your reactions, even your pain, it all fed their ego. It proved they were still powerful, still important, still in control. But now you're gone and they're jouncing. That text, that call, that sudden show of vulnerability. It's not about you. It's about them scrambling to get their high back. Then there's the need to win. You walking away was a loss, and narcissists don't lose. In their mind, you leaving was a direct hit to their grandeur, a challenge to their narrative of being untouchable. Getting you back isn't about fixing the relationship. It's about proving they're still the one calling the shots. It's about rewriting the story so they come out on top. If they can pull you back in, they can tell themselves, see, I'm not a loser. I'm still the star of the show. It's not about you being happy together. It's about them not being left behind. And here's the kicker. They need to silence what they're calling guilt, but it's not guilt at all. It's shame dressed up to look like remorse. When they say, I'm sorry, or I know I hurt you, they're not actually feeling bad for what they did. They're feeling bad about what your absence means for them. You leaving is proof that they're not perfect, not essential, not forgivable. And that's a truth they can't face. So they reach out, hoping you'll come back and absolve them. If you return, it's like you're signing a contract that says, what you did wasn't that bad. You're still okay. You become the living, breathing evidence that they're not the failure they fear they are. Now, let's talk about how they pull this off, because they've got a playbook for this too. They know what remorse is supposed to look like. They've seen it on TV, in movies, in other people's lives. So they mimic it. They'll say all the right words. I've changed. I'll do better. I can't live without you. They might even cry, show up at your door, or send you a long, heartfelt letter. But watch closely, because it's all smoke and mirrors. The second you're back in their orbit, the mask goes back on, the apologies dry up, the old behavior creeps back in, maybe even worse than before. Why? Because the goal was never to make things right. The goal was to quiet their shame and restore their supply. Once they've got you back, mission accomplished. You've seen it before, haven't you? That moment when they seem so sincere, so broken, and you let yourself believe they meant it. You gave them another chance, and for a little while, it felt like things might be different. But then the cycle started again. The manipulation, the blame, the chaos. That's because their guilt was never real. It was a performance, a costume they wore just long enough to reel you in. So here's the hard truth. You are not their medicine. You are not the cure for their shame. You are not the bandage they get to slap on their wounds to make it all better. Responding to that, Hoover, giving them another chance, letting them back into your life, it's like handing a drink to an alcoholic and calling it kindness. It doesn't help them, and it sure as hell doesn't help you. The most compassionate thing you can do for yourself and honestly for them is to keep that door shut. Let them sit with their own discomfort. Let them face the silence. Because until they do, they'll never have a chance to confront the shame that's really driving them. Here's what I want you to do. Think about a time they tried to Hoover you back in. Maybe it was a late night text, a tearful voicemail, or a sudden, "I miss you," out of nowhere. Now ask yourself, what happened next? Did they follow through on those promises? Did they change? Or did they just go back to being the same person who hurt you? Hold on to that truth, because that's the reality of the Hoover. It's not about you, it's about them. It's about their need, their fear, their emptiness. You don't have to be their fix. You don't have to be their proof. You don't have to carry their shame or soothe their pain. Your job is to protect your peace, to build a life that's yours, not theirs. So when that next message comes, and trust me, it might, don't answer. Don't engage. Don't let them suck you back in. You're worth more than that. You're stronger than that. And every day you keep that door closed is a day you're choosing yourself. Keep choosing you. Picture a stage, bright lights, a packed audience, and the narcissist standing center, basking in the applause. They're the star, the hero, the one everyone came to see. That's the life they've built, their grand performance. But now imagine the years passing. The seats start emptying out, the crowd thins, the lights dim, and the spotlight narrows until it's just them alone with no one left to clap. That's the narcissist's worst nightmare, an empty theater. As time marches on, their kids grow up and see through the act. Their colleagues move on. Their charm fades. The lies pile up, and slowly, painfully, they're left staring at the truth their legacy is crumbling, and there's no one left to applaud the show. That's when the shame they've been running from catches up, and it burns like nothing else. This isn't some dramatic overnight collapse. It's a slow burn, a quiet unraveling that creeps in as the years go by. Time is the one thing a narcissist can't manipulate, can't charm, can't gaslight. And time is brutal. It strips away the props they've relied on, the looks, the status, the endless supply of admirers. What's left is a house of cards wobbling in the wind, ready to fall. They've spent their whole lives building a narrative of greatness, but now reality is knocking, and it's not kind. The audience they've worked so hard to impress is slipping away, and the silence is deafening. Let's talk about what that looks like. As they age, they start to see things they can't ignore. They look around and see their peers with real connections, families who love them, friends who stick around, legacies built on trust and authenticity. And it stings. Envy, that ugly cousin of shame, starts gnawing at them. They don't feel guilt for the bridges they've burned or the people they've hurt. No. What eats at them is the realization that others have what they can't. Genuine relationships, respect that wasn't bought or coerced, a life that means something. They see it, and it's like a mirror reflecting back everything they're not. Mm-hmm. Then there's their kids. Maybe they raised them to be extensions of their ego, little trophies to show off their greatness. But kids grow up and they start seeing the truth. They see the manipulation, the double standards, the conditional love. And when those kids pull away, when they stop calling, stop showing up, stop playing the role of adoring fan, it's not just a rejection. It's a failure To a narcissist, it's not about feeling bad for how they treated their kids. It's about the shame of not having the perfect family they thought they deserved. My kids don't respect me, they think. I didn't create the dynasty I was supposed to. That's not guilt, that's shame, whispering that their legacy is a lie. And as the years pile up, they get bitter, isolated, they retreat into a narrative of victimhood where the world was always against them, where everyone else was too stupid or too jealous to see their brilliance. You've seen it, haven't you? That older narcissist who's always complaining, always pointing fingers, always rewriting history to make themselves the misunderstood genius. They're not just angry, they're scared. Because deep down, they know the truth. They're running out of time to keep the act going. That's when they get desperate. They start chasing a final act, some way to prove they're still relevant, still special. Maybe they dig up old stories of their glory days, exaggerating every detail until it's more fiction than fact. Maybe they double down on criticizing others, tearing down anyone who threatens their spotlight. Or maybe they get paranoid, convinced everyone's out to get them because the alternative, admitting they're no longer the center of the universe, is too painful to face. This is their fight against the ultimate narcissistic injury, irrelevance. And it's a fight they can't win. Think about it like this. Their whole life has been a performance, a carefully staged show to keep shame at bay. They built a fortress to protect themselves from the truth, that they're not perfect, not flawless, not enough. But now, as the audience dwindles, that fortress starts to feel like a prison. They're trapped inside, surrounded by the lies they've told, the relationships they've destroyed, the opportunities they've squandered. And the worst part, they did it to themselves. Every choice they made, every time they chose image over integrity, control over connection, applause over authenticity, added another bar to the cage. Now they're locked in alone with nothing but their shame to keep them company. You might look at them and think, how did it come to this? They had so much going for them. But that's the tragedy. They didn't have it all. They pretended to. And pretending is exhausting. Every compliment they chased was fleeting. Every victory was hollow. Every relationship was a transaction. They spent their lives running from the truth, and now the truth is all that's left. That's not power. That's not success. That's captivity. So here's what I want you to do. Think about someone you know who fits this mold, the one who's always chasing the spotlight, always needing to be the best, the brightest, the most admired. Now ask yourself, do they seem fulfilled, at peace? Or do they seem restless, bitter, like they're fighting a battle they can't win? That's the slow burn of a ruined legacy. That's what happens when you build a life on lies instead of truth. And here's the good news for you. You're not stuck in that prison. You got out. You chose authenticity over performance, connection over control. You're not the one staring at an empty theater wondering where it all went wrong. You're building something real, something that lasts. And every step you take toward your own peace, your own healing, is a step away from their chaos. You've been through the ringer. You've carried their shame, dodged their rage, and survived their chaos. You've walked away, maybe with scars, but you're still standing. Now you're wondering how to make them pay, how to make them see what they did to you. You might be dreaming up ways to expose them, to tell the world who they really are, to get that sweet taste of revenge. But let me stop you right there. You don't need to plot or scheme. You don't need to waste one more ounce of your energy on them. The most powerful way to hit a narcissist where it hurts isn't what you think. It's simpler. It's stronger. It's this: be happy, live your life, thrive, because your joy, your peace, your success, that's their worst nightmare. That's what eats away at them day after day for the rest of their miserable lives. Let's break this down. A narcissist's entire world is built on a shaky foundation, their false self, that perfect, untouchable persona they've spent a lifetime crafting. And you were supposed to be part of that illusion. You were supposed to stay in their orbit, reflecting back their greatness, propping up their ego. When you walked away, you didn't just leave, You shattered their script. You were supposed to be broken without them, lost, a mess. They needed you to fail to prove they were right about you, about themselves, about everything. But when you start to heal, when you start to shine, when you build a life that's full and real without them, that's not just a blow, it's a death sentence to their narrative. Your success is their failure, plain and simple. Think about it. Every time they see you thriving, maybe it's a post on social media where you're laughing with friends, maybe it's word getting back to them about your new job, your new relationship, your newfound peace. It's like a dagger to their core, not because they care about you, but because your happiness is proof they were wrong. You weren't nothing. You weren't the problem. You weren't the failure they tried to make you believe you were. Your joy is a mirror, and this time is showing them something they can't stand, their own irrelevance. Every step you take toward a better life is a fresh narcissistic injury, a reminder that they couldn't control you, couldn't diminish you, couldn't destroy you. And that burns deeper than any revenge plot you could ever dream up. Let's paint a picture. They're scrolling through their phone alone, and there you are, living. Maybe you're traveling somewhere they'll never go. Maybe you're surrounded by people who love you for who you are, not what you can do for them. Maybe you're just smiling, radiating a peace they'll never know. To you, it's just a moment of your life. To them, it's a crisis. Because your thriving contradicts everything they've built their identity on. They told themselves you needed them, that you were nothing without them. But here you are, whole, happy, and free. That's not just a loss, it's a reckoning. And the shame they've been running from, it's screaming louder than ever. Here's the thing, you don't need to be their judge. You don't need to call them out, expose their lies, or drag their name through the mud. Life is already doing that. Their empty relationships, their burned bridges, their lonely nights, that's the judgment. They built a prison to keep their shame out, and now they're trapped inside it, surrounded by the wreckage of their own choices. Every time they lash out, every time they manipulate, every time they chase another hollow victory, they're just tightening the bars. Their life is the consequence of their actions, and no amount of charm or rage can change that. Your role isn't to hand down the sentence. Your role is to be the verdict. And the verdict is clear. You are whole without them. You are better without them. They weren't the main character in your story. They were just a chapter. And that chapter is closed. Every time you choose yourself, you're healing your growth, your joy. You're writing a new page, one they have no part in. You're building a legacy that's real, not a house of cards. And that's something they can never take away. So let's talk about what this means for you. Stop waiting for that apology you'll never get. Stop hoping they'll wake up one day and feel the guilt you think they owe you. They won't. Their shame isn't about you. It's about them. It's about the life they've built on lies, the relationships they've destroyed, the truth they've buried. You don't need their remorse to move forward. You don't need their validation to be whole. Your power lies in taking your life back 100%. Your healing is your responsibility, and it's your greatest weapon. Here's what I want you to do. Think about one thing you're proud of since you walked away. Maybe it's a small victory, like a day you felt truly at peace. Maybe it's something big, like a new job, a new home, a new you. Hold on to that. That's your verdict. That's the proof that you're more than they ever let you believe. Now share that with someone who needs to hear it. Tell a friend, a loved one, someone who's still stuck in the narcissist's web. Show them what's possible. Because when you thrive, you're not just saving yourself, you're lighting the way for others. And let me leave you with this. Your life, your happiness, your freedom. That's the ultimate torment for a narcissist, not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're proving they were never the answer. You're proving you don't need them. And that truth, it's louder than any words you could ever say. So keep going, keep building, keep shining. You're not just surviving, you're rewriting the story, and it's a damn good one.